In May 1940, two sets of circumstances conspired together. In the aftermath of the Norwegian campaign, there were significant indications that heavier deck armour and more extensive waterline splinter protection were needed on cruiser-sized vessels to guard against air attack. And with the prospect of German invasion of the UK that summer being viewed as a potential high-probability event, work on any ship that couldn't be completed during that particular year, i.e. in time to sink some invasion barges, was suspended in order to concentrate on the ships that could be made ready for that duty. The suspended ships included 5 recently laid down Dido-class light cruisers, which had only been under construction for an average period of about 5 months at this point. This gave the Navy a chance to make some design changes to them in light of wartime experience. The ships were far too progressed to scrap and start over again with a completely new design, and so instead it was decided to eliminate the third superfiring forward turret. This would also help with the supply issues of 5.25-inch turrets that were being faced at the time, because it effectively eliminated an entire cruiser's worth of turrets from the backlog, as there were 5 cruisers, each of which had 5 turrets, and each cruiser was losing 1 turret, thus 5 turrets being deleted. The magazine for the deleted turret would be kept as reserve storage for the other 4, and this also avoided having to rip apart the existing lower hull and redo that whole area. Without the height of the third turret to work around, the bridge could be moved forward and lowered by 1 deck. This would also save weight and stability. For simplicity, the funnels and the masts, which were previously raked on the initial Dido design, were made vertical. Instead of the missing 5.25-inch turret, it was proposed to place a simple 4-inch star shell gun. The resulting weight and stability saving from all of these changes would then be put into more splinter protection on the waterline, a more extensive radar suite, some plating for the bridge, and moving the new degaussing equipment necessary to counter magnetic mines into the hull. With these changes, work on the now named Bellona subclass restarted in February 1941. However, the changes kept coming. First, the star shell gun was deleted and a 4-inch anti-aircraft gun suggested instead. This was then replaced again, now by a quad 40mm pom-pom, the third such installation on a ship of this type. A deployable ASDIC dome was added lower down in the hull, and blast shields were installed on the now 3 pom-poms. Then remote power control was added both to the pom-poms and to the 5.25-inch turrets. On the lighter end of things, various combinations of 20mm, 50 cal and single 2-pounders were sketched, but eventually they went with 6 twin Mark V 20mm Oerlikons fitted as the light anti-aircraft suite, with 3 mounting points for twin Lewis guns provided if someone wanted to bring those up out of the armoury. The 2 triple torpedo launchers that were found on the original Dido design were also retained. Thus constructed, the Bellonas were in theory actually better anti-aircraft ships than Didos that had managed to complete with all 5 of their 5.25-inch turrets, thanks to their radar and better remote power control. This reflected the transition of the type into being viewed primarily as anti-aircraft support ships, as opposed to the more wide-ranging fleet role that the Didos had originally been drafted for, and which, to be fair, they had been fulfilling in the early part of the war. HMS Spartan was the last but one vessel to be laid down in late December 1939. Due to the delays and redesigns, she wouldn't actually launch until the 27th of August 1942, the same day as her sister ship Black Prince, and a day after another sister ship, Diadem. She commissioned into the fleet in summer 1943, remaining with the home fleet until autumn, undertaking a series of training exercises in the meantime. In early October, she served in the Bay of Biscay, hunting blockade runners, occasionally being called away to enhance the anti-aircraft escort of convoys that were approaching Luftwaffe strike range. By mid-October, she would be reassigned to the Mediterranean fleet, arriving by way of Gibraltar a few weeks later. Primarily based out of Malta at first, she undertook a series of bombardment missions in company with a number of veteran Mediterranean fleet cruisers, still picking up the odd convoy escort mission, and by the end of the year she was basing herself out of Taranto for extended periods, as that area had been deemed largely safe for Allied warships to use as a home base. Time rolled on, and by late January 1944, the landings at Anzio had begun. Initially, Spartan was earmarked for shore bombardment duties, but the lack of significant enemy ground targets saw her reallocated to anti-aircraft patrol duties, and then, on the evening of the 29th, Luftwaffe formations began to appear. Spartan, like many other ships, was already at anchor for the night, and so she had to content herself with making smoke from all generators and funnels to try and cover the other ships, whilst she tried to work up steam to get moving. But prevailing wind conditions meant that she couldn't cover herself as well with the generated smoke. The incoming German aircraft circled the Allied forces and then proceeded to come in on an attack vector over land, using backscatter from the cliffs and mountains of Italy to conceal their approach from radar and the failing light to hide from much optical observation. Around 1800, an HS-293 glide bomb launched by one of the aircraft hit Spartan just above the aft boiler room on the port side. The boiler rooms were almost immediately flooded, and with power out and fires raging, within an hour the ship had been sunk, with 46 killed and 42 wounded from a crew of 530.
That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have a comment or suggestion for a ship to review, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to comment on the pinned post for dry dock questions.